Welcome to the Hit Squad. Chad Range and Jesse Finney, no Cardinal red. It's nice to switch it up.
I got to tell you.
He's got a fresh shirt on. It's good stuff.
It's sad.
It is sad, absolutely. Hey, they overachieved, though. Congratulations to the St. Louis Cardinals.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. And hey, congrats, man. I mean, you know what? You go into a season like that, you're losing for Cal, you're losing,
shortstop, closer,
Javi Garcia. You lose your closer. You got, Chris Carpenter goes down. Look at everybody you lost, and you come in second in baseball. Listen, first is the only thing that counts, but at the same time, you got to give them some credit.
Absolutely. I would definitely say they overachieved for the year. Hey, we're going to try to overachieve. This is segment 1, brought to you by Shamrock Fighting Championships, home of St. Louis Mixed Martial Arts, and you can catch us on Facebook, same as it ever was. Hit Squad at 101 ESPN. Twitter handle, pretty much the same thing, at Hit Squad 101 ESPN. As we said, it's been a little while, and since it has, big news. Bellator's Ortiz Rampage was canceled. We're going to talk more about Bellator, but obviously that's not good. You kind of you get a good fight together.
I agree it's not good, but I also think it was actually really good for Bellator.
You didn't want to see that?
I think that our ratings went kaboom. We're going to go kaboom on that fight. That's number one. And then number two, man, you got to think about this. They got to go and turn around and put the rest of that on free on TV. Listen, you made a Bellator fan right here.
We're going to talk more about that, absolutely.
And if it was on pay-per-view, I wouldn't have watched those fights.
No,
and I tell you what, I haven't, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't T-bowed any fights with Bellator until this fight. I T-bowed this fight because I wanted to see the best number 1 55er in the world, a Michael Chandler fight. And I got to tell you something. I was highly impressed with Bellator, and I wouldn't have bought it if it was on pay-per-view. So you got to, the glass is half full, half empty. Your pocketbooks are a little bit less empty probably because you had to put it on free. But hey, it was a hell of a fight.
It kind of worked out for him in the end. I'm just saying, you get two big names, people want to see it, and it doesn't happen. That happens.
I agree, Chad, but two big names that are completely washed up.
Well, yeah, their biggest names, I'd say that they have.
Absolutely.
Yep. And in that aspect. But it got canceled, but like you said, I think it did work out because we're going to talk about this more in this segment. I'm a Bellator fan now,
I'm a Bellator fan.
Absolutely.
Would you have been a Bellator fan?
If I wouldn't have got to see all that, and I mean, like you said, I wouldn't have paid for it. I would have read it on ESPN or wherever. GSP, again, calls for the removal of breaks between rounds. I kind of like what he's saying here, but I mean, I feel like this maybe should have been brought up in 1992 when the Ultimate Fighter was just starting. He just wants it to be 15 minutes on a non-championship fight, continuous fighting, and then 25 on a championship fight, just going at it. Thoughts on that?
Thoughts that I am so glad that I'm retired.
Well, yeah,
because
that's a marathon.
For 15 to 25 minutes. I don't even argue with my wife for 25 minutes. So I mean, absolutely not. I think that what they're doing is great. I think they need to change up the scoring system. That's my big thing. Change up the scoring system. I wouldn't worry about fighting for 15 minutes straight, 25 minutes straight. I think it's been a universal rule around America. You know what? We're just starting to get mainstream. Let's not start changing things right now.
Yeah, exactly. Don't reinvent it once everybody's kind of getting the flow of it. I would agree to that. Why do you think he's saying that?
Because he's probably the best athlete in the world.
He wants to show it.
I don't know about that.
I mean, that would be about the only reason.
His conditioning is unbelievable, and it's going to work in his favor. He's one of the only guys out there that can fight for 15 minutes straight, much less 25 minutes. And you know what? Why not try something that's going to work out in your favor?
And as against that, I would say it's nice when they get winded for them to sit down, take a break, and then they're able to come out and deliver a knockout that they wouldn't be able to do 10 minutes, 15 minutes into a fight.
I agree with you 1,000,000%, and I'll even take it a little step further. Imagine if you get a Jake Shields. God love you, Jake Shields, but you're going to watch Jake Shields lay on somebody for 25 minutes? I mean, that's realistic.
You don't want that.
So, basically, he's going to go out there and lay on somebody. He'll take it down in the first minute, and he's going to lay it for 24. So, I mean, hey, you can't stop it. Ben Askren, you can't stop it. So, you know what? It's mixed martial arts. Here's an opportunity for the guys to come back out and finish the fights as well.
I like it. But is what you are kind of saying, I think it takes the judges out of it. And this is what I like, our next story. Michael Bisping wants the judges to justify their decisions post-fight.
I agree with him.
I think it's that's great. I don't know if it'll happen, but I know where this is coming from, and why not?
Completely agree. I love what he has to say. I think that this is something that should be done, and I think that we should push forward as the internet and everything else to get some things done with these judges, because I watched the Michael Chandler fight, and let me tell you something. We'll talk about that later on, but man, justify that to me.
It's one of those things. Would you have them do it like in the octagon
I don't
right
care
after?
where they do it.
I just love the thought of that. You bring them in right after the fighters are there. This is why we think you won. This is why you thought, And this is what you've talked about. You've talked about the scoring needing to be changed up, and I just kind of want to put it this way to you. In a championship fight, you have the 5 rounds. If the first 3 are very close, but all judges side with one guy, and then the next 2 rounds, the other guy completely dominates and runs it, the win still goes to the guy who won the first 3 rounds.
Yes, sir.
But might not have had the momentum, might have been losing the fight and really got dominated those last 2. And that's, at the end you'd think, oh, that guy won, but really it goes to the scorecard.
Right.
The other guy won. And that seems to be a reoccurring problem.
I agree with you, and I think that this is a great start if we can have this happen.
Yeah.
And hey, you know what? Let me take it a little step further in saying this. Maybe just in championship fights you have to justify as a judge.
There you go. Not every single fight.
Maybe just
like
as a
that.
championship fight you
Taking
have to justify.
it a step further. That's all good stuff. We got to move on. There's a lot of content in this first segment, and we want to get to it all absolutely. John Jones finds himself on the cover of EA Sports UFC video game. Now, this is something Madden's been doing where they then vote for who wants it to be. I think Barry Sanders is on this year's. The fan voting is going to determine the second fighter. Any thoughts on who do you think that will be?
Cain Velasquez. I think that Cain Velasquez, I think that he's got a huge Mexican following and an American following, and I think that his pay-per-view numbers are doing really well. I tell you what, that's who I would vote for at this point. I think he's the best heavyweight of all time, so why not? And he's the heavyweight champion right now. Give him the opportunity, put the man, and give him the credit where credit's due.
Absolutely, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about John Jones coming up at the end of this segment.
Yep.
You gotta be kidding me.
All right, it's time for You've Got to Be Kidding Me. And I'm going to start this one off. And Jesse, who would have known? Sorry, buddy, but Lyoto Machida looked really good. Your lock of the week, he kind of went World Combat League and worked him on the midsection kicks and then the kick to the head for the knockout. You've got to be kidding me. Lyoto, who knew?
Hey, man, I'm good. I'm happy for Lyoto because he came out and he fought.
Exactly. That's the thing.
That's
he
what I want to see.
pushed the fight. He took it to him. And you got to be kidding me. Maybe he figured it out. Maybe he's been listening to us.
Right. Hey, listen, Lyoto, listen, fight like that and you won't be my least favorite fighter of all time. Just go on and fight, man. That's all I ask. You lost me as a fan with the Dan Henderson fight.
Oh, absolutely.
You kick and run. If you go on and fight like that, you'll gain me back. And I love this style that we came out and fought that night.
Absolutely.
Yes. Michael Chandler decision to Eddie Alvarez on Bellator. Listen, if you're going to judge and you're going to try to tell me that Michael Chandler didn't win round 1, he didn't win round 2, okay, he lost round 3, and he didn't win round 4, you've got to be kidding me, man. I mean, you know what? Learn how to judge.
That hurt.
You're terrible, okay? Listen, terrible. If you're going to go out and you're going to try to tell me that, okay, did Michael Chandler win the fight? Yes. Who won rounds 3 and 5? Eddie Alvarez. They all were pretty clear-cut. And you're going to come and take this from the best 155er in the world in Michael Chandler? You've got to be kidding me, man. The California Athletic Commission, you need to look at those judges and rethink some things.
That did. They dropped the ball. But from the bad to the good, I give You Got to Be Kidding Me to the whole Bellator experience in Long Beach, baby. I mean, I loved it. I love the tournament style. I love the big paydays. They know what they're fighting for, $100,000 for that championship. And we saw guys bring it. And I tell you what, you got to be kidding me. There were great fights. I know that one was a, boo to Bellator.
It was a hell of a fight.
It's a hell of a fight. Yeah, don't take it away from the fighters, but the decision, obviously, we don't think it was the correct one. But I tell you what, Daniel Strauss beating Pat Curran, that was a rematch there that, Strauss's only loss. He comes back and avenge that. The Diesel, Joe Riggs, we saw him in St. Louis. He went away with a $100,000 payday. I like the Bellator format. I really do think the UFC could maybe take something from that. And it kind of leads into your next one of you got to be kidding me because you know who's going to fight who, right? You move on and it kind of makes sense.
Right. I like it, and that leads into this next one right here with Alexander Gustafsson. Okay, he's going to take on Jimmy Minowa. Okay, really. You got the 4 best 205s in the world and John Jones. You got Glover Texeira. You got Alexander Gustafsson, and you have Daniel Cormier, Jimmy Minowa. Take something, put those 4 in a tournament, let the winner fight John Jones, okay? You're gonna go in there and put Jimmy Minowa after Nogueira. You're trying to give Alexander Gustafsson an easy win so you can go fight John Jones. John Jones, don't forget this, has got to get past Glover Teixeira. You got to be kidding me, man. Take something out of Bellator, learn from them a little bit, put the 4 best in there, see what's going to happen, and you know what? Sit John Jones if you have to. Let those 4 fight each other, the other 4.
He deserves it.
Okay, and then they got to fight again to get to John Jones, okay? You're giving John Jones too easy of a fight, man. You got to be kidding me.
I agree, and I tell you what, I call this the Chris Weidman effect. When you take a guy who's 9-0, you put him up against somebody who, and I mean, if I feel bad if Alexander Gustafsson loses this fight because, I mean, people said he might have beat. You were one of those guys. He might have beat John Jones.
But it was close.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't like a Michael Chandler decision.
No, but you're not going to let that go.
No.
I love it. But yeah, I mean, I think you do. It's one of those things. You need to know who they're fighting, and I think Gustafsson, Cormier would have been a great fight.
Right.
And this thing can really throw a whole monkey wrench into it. But we're gonna touch on John Jones again. Interesting fun fact. Good job by Kevin Fowler finding this one. John Jones ranks number 26 on the AskMen.com 2013 top 49 men. Interesting number. 49 men. He follows in succession Howard Stern, Floyd Mayweather, and then right up next to him, the Pope. Interesting. That is an interesting fun fact there. But we're going to be breaking down the upcoming UFC fights in our next segment. Stick with us on 101sports.com.